Hey guys, welcome back to 1776 or Bust and on the table. So you see in front of you guys the P01 Omega. Now this was a gun that I had been hunting for a long time. Since they first released these, I had always been on the hunt for them. I actually made a video a while ago calling this the unicorn of guns for me because I could not find it. So eventually I was able to actually acquire one of these, and I have to thank my buddy KS Gun Guy because he went to his local shop and they had two of them in. He wound up buying one. He showed me a picture of it via text and I said, hey, do they have another one? If so, I would love to buy it. So yeah, I bought it. And one of the things you're going to notice about it, which is kind of unique about this one that you're not going to find anywhere else really, is the fact that the barrel is not an actual threaded barrel. Now, this is the original barrel that came with the gun. However, because in New York State, we're not allowed to have threaded barrels, I had to actually have a gunsmith, one of KS's locals, take the barrel, cut it down a little bit, and then recrown the front so that I would be able to use it and actually have it legal in New York State. Again, you can see you have the extended rounds. These are 16-round magazines. However, this has been pinned to a whopping 10 rounds. I know it's sort of blasphemy, but unfortunately, that's what I've got stuck with. But you know what? I'm okay with it because 10 is better than none. Now, in regards to overall about the gun, I'm going to say that for me personally, I don't think there's any gun in the CZ lineup that, to me, makes such an impression on me aside from these P01s. The P01 series for me has always been the it gun from CZ. And there's a lot of people out there that like them. There are some people who don't because they feel that they're a little bit too small. I would tell you that I have loved the P01 since I owned one years ago. And then I eventually got a new one. And I have to say, I love that one. And this one to me is just absolutely 100% perfect. Now, what are the major differences between this and the other P01? Well, I'm sure you've seen a million videos on it, so I'm not going to go into like tremendous detail about this. But one of the things that obviously you can tell right off the bat is the trigger. Obviously, you have more of a straight trigger with a slight curvature at the bottom. This is because of the Omega trigger system that's inside of here. And if you look at the slide, you can actually see the Omega symbol right there. And that is synonymous with all the other Omega triggers that are out there. And basically what that is a bunch of interchangeable parts for all Omegas. And basically there are less parts inside, which supposedly make it more efficient as a gun. Now, the original, as you can see, has that nice hooked or curved trigger here. A lot of people complain about it. They don't like the way it feels. But for me, I really actually like it. It just seems that my fingertip actually fits just perfectly in there. I've never had any issues with it, and I continue to love shooting this gun because it's just, in my opinion, just that damn good. Now, obviously, with the Omega, there have been some changes besides the actual trigger and the Omega system. But you'll notice the decocker lever is a little bit different from the original model. The actual, I guess you can call it the edge of the decocking lever, is actually more forward. The old one, or I should say the original, has one towards the back. Now, is there an advantage or disadvantage to either one? It's hard to say. I guess it's about preference. For me, I like the old system. This one I have to get a little bit more adjusted to, obviously. But I think this is more common for people who are used to shooting 1911s, those types of things, because you notice as soon as you bring your thumb down, you hook that decocking lever. Now, of course, you can switch this out to a safety only. I'm not going to do that. This is going to be a decocker for me. I just prefer carrying it half cocked as opposed to, cocked and locked. It's just not my deal. Again, your slide lock or slide release is basically identical to the original model. There's no difference there. I think it's a good reach. I don't have any issues actuating it. So for me, it works. Again, you have your extended base plate here for your magazine. Remember, this is only 10 rounds, although it looks pretty cool. And it makes me want to one day own a 16-round magazine that I can actually legitimately have. You can also notice that here on the top, you actually have the raised sights, in other words, the suppressor height night sights. And these came with the gun, as many of you know, especially in the urban gray. For me, it's not going to make a difference because I can't own a can either up here, so that's great. But you notice the side picture is actually pretty nice. There's not a lot of lateral movement in between the post and the rear sight. So they look to be really nice. Again, until I shoot with them, I don't know exactly how to necessarily where it's going to hit. So I'm hoping that'll be point of aim, but we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. Again, the hammer is also a little bit different. You have more of a squared hammer on this one. This is very reminiscent, obviously, of the P07 and the P09 series. So again, very similar traits to the Omega versions of those two handguns, which is not to be surprised, or I guess you shouldn't be surprised by that. Again, you have that urban gray finish, which is more or less like a, I wouldn't even say it's an FDE color. I would tell you it's definitely not gray. It actually reminds me more of a desert sand kind of color or Cerakoting, and I think that's as close as you can really call it. Now, overall, the gun, the fit and finish on this is excellent. There are no milling issues inside. There's no machining or anything like that. That's noticeable on the slide, which you can definitely find on some of the older P01s. But overall, I'm very impressed with this, and I'm not surprised. I think it's going to be a fabulous shooter. If it shoots anything like my original, then I think it's going to be an absolute win. Again, one of the things I did notice, which I'm probably going to absolutely do, is I put in the real cheap spring kit from Cajun Gun Works in this handgun, which dropped the actual trigger pull on the double action and the single action by about a pound. But you also notice, and again, the gun is clear. It just, the trigger for me is just smoother. Now, again, keep in mind, I've had several hundred rounds go through this gun, so it should be breaking in a little bit more than obviously a brand new gun. But there's just, it's a smoother double action, and the single action also is just a little bit smoother. Now, over time, I'm suspecting that this gun, and again, everything is clear, but I'm suspecting that this gun will also break in very nicely. But I definitely want to put that spring kit, because one of the things I did notice is that the hammer, or I should say the first pull on the trigger, is actually considerably heavier than what it feels on the original. But I think it has something to do with the spring kit and just the smoothness of the trigger. Now, overall, the single action right there is a little bit mushier than the original. But again, I have to say that for me, over time, I'm sure it'll break in. And once I throw that spring kit in there, I don't think there'll be any other problems with it. Now, overall, I'm super impressed. I'm super satisfied. This I actually purchased back in December, and I just got it finally because of the stupid state laws here. But nonetheless, very pleased with it. I will be doing a follow-up review after shooting it, and I will definitely be reviewing these grips, because these are the best grips that I've ever had from Lock Grips. Super comfortable, super thin. They fit perfectly, and they've got a good enough bite to them. But I'll be doing a review separately on that. So I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about the gun. Tell me what you think about the P01 series in general. And if you own an Omega, tell me what you think about it. Or if you really want to own one, I would recommend going to get one. So again, let me know what you think. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about the Omegas and also the original P01s. There are some things I want to do with this gun. Maybe drop a stainless steel guide rod in it and definitely put that spring kit. But overall, guys, these are the best guns in my collection. I love them. They're not going to go anywhere. These are keepers for life, and I highly recommend them. So I hope you enjoyed the review. Give us a thumbs up if you choose to. Again, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And as always, everyone, freedom is never free.